Hello, everybody. Welcome back to an updated version of the Tuesday Tactic Talk series. I am super excited to have Josh join me. I really enjoy the good guys, the Avengers, the Asgardians, all the heroes of Marvel Crisis Protocol, and I now have somebody to cover some of the more evil aspects of this game. And Josh, you've been a huge lover of the Cabal and even known as the cult leader of Crossbones. You're a huge advocate for him, which I highly appreciate because I think he is quite good.
Absolutely. He's honestly one of my favorite models in the game, and it pains me that no one else can love him as much as I do.
He has put in good work against me even recently. Uh, so, with that said, if you want, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us a little bit about your list.
Well, my name's Josh. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I got into this game shortly after launch. The plan was to be all casual, just for fun, and then within buying the core set, I realized, oh, this game's going to be too much fun competitive to just sit casually by. So this list is actually a variation on one my friend Hunter and I put together. I love Cabal. We both agree that Shuri is one of the best characters in the game. So we spent about 2 hours tweaking some of the fundamentals for this build, and I haven't really moved away from it because it's given me so much success. So I'm really excited to talk about it because it's got my favorite tech in the game that you got to meet.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that. Let's. Who is making the cut to the top 10 characters in your list?
Right now, it's Red Skull for my Cabal leader. And in almost every game, it's either him or my Avengers build. It's Red Skull Shuri, which are the two core, like I said a second ago.
Mhm.
Crossbones, Baron Zemo, and Modoc round out the actual Cabal members. Then I have the rest is all Avengers. It's Captain Marvel, Vision, Captain America, Hulk, and Thor as my back half of my build.
Absolutely, something that I'm sure plenty of people recognize.
Oh yeah.
And you mentioned here at the beginning there are kind of a couple of standout characters that you make into just about every list you can cram them into in Red Skull and Shuri. What about them makes them the core of your list?
So for Shuri, in my opinion, at least, she's one of the best supports in the game, if not the best, and definitely one of the best characters. One of Cabal's issues I found is consistency. They've got really good attackers, but outside of Modoc and Zemo, they don't reroll a lot and they don't dice fix. And Shuri shores that up really well. Uh, on top of the fact that Cabal feeds back into her by giving her even more power to do that with. Uh, on top of that, they also really like the control from her pushes. So you don't, when they do want to deal with something, they can. When you don't, Shuri just tells them to get back on the other side of the table. And Red Skull really works with her because she can do one of the most powerful things you can do for just dice rolling is moving her with the Master of the Cube and then having her double shot into somebody, get 4 to 6 power, and then you've got 6 or 7 rerolls that you can just start cranking out on your opponent.
Yeah, and that can be done as if your opponent is foolish enough to charge into your side of the board. Red Skull just teleporting her up a little bit. Like no matter what, she's got a turn one shot that can get back 3 power, which is insane, especially
Oh yeah,
within the Cabal. Because 6 dice energy attack more times than not, it's only going to deal 1 damage, but that's all the Cabal really care about anyway.
yeah, that's all she really needs.
Perfect. So with those 10 characters kind of set, what are the tactic cards that you bring into your roster?
Oh, this one I can't do. I actually pull them up. So
Absolutely.
first off, like almost any good Cabal list, it's going to have Cosmic Invigoration. And that's the one I'm one of the most iffy on, but it's in there. Avengers Assemble for when I'm running Avengers. Patch Up, Field Dressing, Brace for Impact, Advanced R&D, Gamma Launch, and Recalibration Matrix.
Perfect. And a lot of those are just generally good staples, and I don't think there's too many questions to ask about why any one of those particular cards is in your list. They all sound pretty like, hey, here's a good tactic card. There's no random things in there. So, uh, So my other question, and it kind of alludes to what I've asked earlier, but why are you playing with the Cabal? You mentioned the Red Skull Shuri, so why aren't you doing something similar within the Wakandans or within the Avengers or anything else? Why did it have to be the bad guys?
Well, part of it is I always feel like I'm playing the good guys, so playing the bad guys now is fun.
Hmm.
Uh, but also, I really like to brawl. I really like um, the combat in the game. And Wakandans are better at avoiding combat or pushing people out and winning on the objective. And I feel like Cabal does a really good job of saying, "Hey, I like that you have that thing. I'm going to kill it, and you won't have that thing anymore." Uh, and uh, like I said, the consistency of Cabal left a little to be desired, and Shuri, I feel like shores it up perfectly, and it lets me play that play style of I'm just going to start killing people, and you're going to have to outrace me on characters eventually.
Absolutely, you've got a list to put it to your opponent as well. So I think that fits very well with your play style. Cool. So what I'm going to do now is work our way through the 15 to 20 threat uh, slots and just kind of one by one tell me what are you thinking about at each of those point levels and what you're bringing. And so, of course, we'll start at 15. And I noticed that
Mhm.
you had three very distinct characters in your list.
I, I do have the Big Daddy Thor build in here. Actually, the funny thing about that is it's almost a feint. My other secret play style is I like to feint people. And I like to say, "Hey, I'm going to do this," and then actually do something else. So it's almost in there as a bait and switch. You think I'm going to run that build, so you will try to keep the blues away from me, even if you get priority. And
Hmm.
then you'll give me reds, and I get to play hammers because I like rolling a bunch of dice. Um, and if someone gives me the chance, I will run it, especially if I notice they don't have a counter. But the primary ones I like to play, I actually like to play Red Skull, Modoc, and Hulk at 15,
Hmm.
especially on Wakandan herbs. I play Wakandan herbs a bit differently. Most people are thinking, how am I going to score the herbs? How am I going to capture the flag? And usually I just run Hulk up to the herbs and then leave him there as a goalie with one extra die to say, okay, you can try to score, but you've got an angry Hulk staring you down the entire time you're over here. Uh, the other builds I'll run sometimes would be the variation of my 17, which is usually Red Skull Shuri, Modoc, and Baron Zemo, just so I
Hmm.
can have a 4 activation spread on some if someone pulls something wide out as well. Um, it's weird because I don't plan for 15, but I have a bunch of flexibility at 15. But
Which
those are
is
usually
also
what I'm
really
looking
good
at.
to have. Yeah.
Yeah, the long and short is if you force me on Gamma Shelters, I'll meet you with the Big Daddy Thor. If you put me on Wakanda Nerves, I'm gonna play goalie. I'm not even gonna worry about that objective, and then we'll play the brawl game that I want to play. And if you do something weird, I can just pull out a four spread and play something even weirder.
Absolutely. I actually did the Thor, not Thor, the Modoc, Red Skull, and Hulk way back in the early days of the game, and caught quite a few people by surprise by just how potent and punchy that list can be, and almost ignored scoring objectives myself. It's much easier to go to the KO when you've got these characters that are meant to be hitting multiple characters, and yeah. So
Especially once you get Cosmic Invigorate in there, and you get double activation Thor or Thor. I did the same thing. Double activation Hulk or Modoc. Then you're really laying a hurt on someone if they're not expecting that kind of thing.
yep. So as of right now, we do not have a 16 threat to dive into. And on the flip side of that, we have so many 17 threat. I personally kind of have a standard 17 point with a little bit of flexibility, but like, hey, I know that I'm bringing two or three, four threat characters and a five threat character. What about you? Do you have a specific game plan going into 17 threat?
It's the most um, thought about and the most solidified of them. I was saying a little bit ago about my flex. My 17 core is the Red Skull Shuri,
Hmm.
and then Zemo and Crossbones. Um, that leaves me with 4 points, and I have two 4 pointers that I always use. Um, it's generally some sort of ranged beater or some sort of melee beater. And the two that I've settled on right now are Vision and Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I like them because they have throws, because throws are amazing. But I use them in different situations. If I feel like I need better single target damage, or if I need someone that's got the stagger, I'll bring Captain Marvel. Turn 1, or turn 2, excuse me, you can get binary form at least at the end of her turn between 2 energy blasts and her passive energy generation.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use binary form defensively turn 2, or you can start swinging with binary form turn 3, and it sustains itself in Cabal.
And is very dangerous.
Yes. And then you even have the chance to do rocket punches and not feel like you're missing out on that power generation in binary form. So if I see a Hulk across the table, or if I see someone that I just know I need to kill with just big single target bursts, it's Captain Marvel. Especially because Energy Blast getting rerolls, talking about consistency, and then Shuri rerolling, and then Zemo rerolling. It's not uncommon to just get 6 or so hits really trivially with that. Flip side, if someone brings me somewhere where I think I need to do the beam, Vision is fantastic. He's a lot more defensive, except against throws, and he's a lot more able to hit multiple people in weird angles. And then I'll talk about it later at 19. Getting all that, being able to amass power is fantastic, and it's even easier in Cabal when hitting 2 people with a beam gets him 4 power.
Yeah, easily, if not more, with the sat powers, and even if he's not dealing damage, the sat power can get him up to that number, which is really strong. Cool, so that's your kind of core 17. Let's bump it up 1 point, and at 18, you know that you're playing the Hammers objective. Does that bear any impact on what you're bringing?
Somewhat. I always, the immediate change is that 4-point beater becomes MODOK. MODOK likes having Hammers because both of his attacks, being 6 and 7, are already strong. Bumping up to 7 and 8 makes me even stronger. And I have double killed many people with double 8 power whirling blades onto 2 characters that got a little too close. And you can swing a game super hard on that objective with certain characters if you're not careful. Crossbones likes him. He'll just stand there and hold one, and if you come at him, he's going to hit you with a 9 dice strike instead of an 8 dice strike. Shuri doesn't care.
No, not really.
But everyone else, Zemo, MODOK, Crossbones, they all love a shiny new hammer to start walloping people with.
Boost that attack dice just a little bit more, and Cabal being the aggressive list that they are, that makes sense. And you alluded this a little bit earlier, but it did seem you had a plan going into the 19 threat objective as well with the Citizens Evacuation objective. Tell us a little bit about that.
So occasionally that'll bring Vision in. Vision and Shuri both being able to build tons of power and evacuate really well. If I don't feel like I want to go for objective, if I'm feeling a little bit more aggressive, I can usually bring hold on, Matt's eluding me right now. So it's I can ditch the Crossbones for MODOK. And that means that I lose his amazingness. For 2 more points, I get MODOK, which is a fair trade, even as the Cult of Crossbones. It's a fair trade.
And you're still able to then have a character like Vision for that extreme power generation, along with Shuri and everything else.
Exactly. And I can also run Avengers randomly if someone, if I so see fit. There is a build somewhere in here. I can't remember right now. I've been running a different build in the league, so I'm all about this experimental, crazy build that I'm playing. But there is a build for Avengers if someone sees it coming, and I'm like, well, I'll just play a bunch of throws in Avengers. I think it's I can't think of it right now. I'm not even going to try.
I was about to say, if you've got Thor, Captain Marvel, Vision, and Captain America, that's my usual 17-point kind of core. So from there, you just throw in, you've got a lot of flexibility in the Avengers throws department.
I think it's you drop Captain Marvel from that and you add Zemo and Shuri. I think that's the 19 because that's at 17. You drop 4, you get down to
Yep, you're adding
12.
2
No,
points on top of it.
yeah, it's
Because you
something
drop.
like that.
Yeah, that would work.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway, yeah, that's the 19 points. Even though I carry it, it's a little bit less thought out. No one ever wants to play it, so I never get the chance to play it.
There's a lot of Guardians right now that enjoy playing it because Star-Lord gravitates to it very well and all of that.
And I'm excited to play into. I'm excited to play into that. No one's really played Guardians into me yet, and so I haven't gotten a real chance to feel that. What, 6 people on the table at one time? Is that what they're running nowadays?
Oh man, I've seen 6 people at 17 thread. I'm sure they'll bump it up even higher.
Oh, yes.
Just a couple more months, and then game stores will hopefully be a little bit more back to normal, and we can get into that a little bit more. And that leaves out the 19, or takes care of the 19. What do you do at 20? Is there any special thing because you know you're playing one of those objectives that only has one extraction on the table?
Kind of like how I upgraded Crossbones into MODOK. I do that, and then I just upgrade that 4 point into Thor. That gives me, he's still, one of the primary things is he still has a ranged attack because he's still got that hammer throw, which is a pretty good ranged attack at 5 range, 5 power, and a shock. But then I also get all the aggressive benefits of bringing Thor. He can sit back and then go in and one round a character, or just toss all your characters around, or go in and God of Thunder. He's just super flexible, but hard to get. He's hard to fit into my build at 17, 20. It opens up, and I'm running 5, but they're a good 5. So I've never felt disadvantaged at that point level.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, while half of your points is in Thor and MODOK, you get to bring both Thor and MODOK to the table, which is a scary animal within itself.
Oh, yeah. And Cabal really likes the multi-target attacks. So an area 2, 7 dice attack, getting a power back on each one makes them feel a little less power-starved on the turns that you decide to go in.
Absolutely. The being able to God of Thunder twice in a turn, which is, even as a Avengers aficionado, it's not something I can do. I've had it done to me, and it is downright devastating.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. So that goes through all of the different possible points, and I know that you obviously have to have your own crises selected. So what are your secure crises, and why do you like these 3? I guess there's only one other option right now anyway. So I guess why do you not like the one that you left out, and what appeals do you have for the other 3?
So the 3 I've taken, let me make sure it's the blue ones. Okay. There's always just blue and reds in my head. I take Extremis consoles. I really like Extremis consoles. I like healing. It's nice and solid. It can. My typical strategy is to take either mine and the right or mine and the left and force you in so that I can take you and then aggressively push the other side. And I can heal up the whole time with durable characters like Crossbones, and Red Skull can Master of the Cube and then heal him, or Cosmic Cube, stare into it, damage himself, and heal himself. I play Infinity Formula, lots more power generation with Cabal. They aren't upset with it.
Yeah, Cabal can be seemingly a power-hungry team at times, and that answers a lot of their problems.
Yeah, and the more power on Shuri, the better. So
yeah,
bring it on. The other one is the Gamma Waves. That's mostly there for the Big Daddy Thor package. It's part of that bait and switch. I also kind of like it because it's kind of fun sometimes. You just play this really interesting game of we're going to brawl, but if you're not careful, I'll just score 6 points on this one objective because we're ignoring the other objective anyway most of the time.
Yep.
And as for the one that I'm not using, I don't even remember what it is, so that should tell you why I'm not taking it. I don't. It's
the Meteor Origin Bomb.
Origin Bomb.
Where you have to have the energy defenses.
Yes, I really hate that one. I don't want to stand up in the middle of the table most of the time. The list can be aggressive, but characters like Crossbones don't really want to stand in the middle of the table, or because he has to get there, and getting there is the problem.
Yeah, and you don't really have a lot of characters that have an average high energy defense unless you swap over to the Avengers.
Captain Marvel's the best, and I also don't want her in the middle of the table.
Yeah,
It's also not as dynamic as the other ones. A lot of the crisis for me is just which one's more fun, and that one's just the least fun of the blues for me.
that's fair.
Hopefully, we'll get more.
Spider-Gwen or Ghost Spider and Miles Morales are supposedly coming with a 16 blue, but we'll see.
Do they exist? Are they really coming? Are we sure?
Again, cross those fingers. All right, and that leaves us with the Reds. What is so fantastic about the Reds that you chose? Because here we do have so many more options.
Yeah, and it's really hard to narrow it down. First of all, we cut Spider Infected because that one's garbage.
Mm-hmm.
No offense to anyone that likes it. I run Struggle for the Cube. It's solid. It's easy. Crossbones can hold stuff for almost free, and I get more power. The more power, the better. If I can trick someone into taking Extremis consoles, it's the starter game, so everyone knows how to play the starter game.
Yep.
And we take damage and we heal. It's really good. It's really fun. It's always been my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Then I take hammers. Hammers is hammers, and you take more dice and you have more points, so you have more fun.
It's exactly what your list wants to be doing anyway, which is just punching harder and doing what you can.
Exactly. And then the 19-point, part of it's experiment, part of it's because I really like the idea of upgrading Crossbones up to MODOK, and being able to have the instant win capability of tossing citizens to the sidelines. And
I was about to say, as a Cabal, you're totally saving them.
We're saving them from life.
That seems like a Red Skull mentality. They're being sacrificed for the greater good, or some sort of nonsense of shenanigans.
I am rescuing you from your inferior existence.
That is the mentality of a Red Skull player. Cool. So last thing I want to cover, you already talked about your tactic cards. Now that we kind of know how your list functions and at what levels they're playing at and stuff, if you don't mind, just take us through each one and tell us why you enjoy it, what combinations you usually bring it in at, or anything like that.
So, like you talked about, it's pretty standard. I don't really have a lot of fancy tricks in here. My entire build mentality is consistency. What's gonna work most often.
Mm-hmm.
First one, Cosmic Invigoration, kind of speaks for itself with Red Skull. I find myself using it less often, and I find myself threatening it more often.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping people close enough to Red Skull where they're like, oh, I have to deal with the fact that MODOK or Vision or whoever is going to be able to activate twice. Usually that means that they put themselves in a position where I don't even have to do it. They just back off, or they don't give me a good opportunity. So I force my opponent to play how I want without having to do anything, which, like I mentioned, I like that bait and switch, so it works perfectly.
Yep.
Avengers Assemble, the good promo one.
Very nice.
That's for the Big Daddy Thor build. And then if I'm just playing Avengers, it's fantastic. It's probably not quite at the level of Wakanda Forever, but it's probably still one of the best affiliated tactics cards in the game. Free movement is perfect, and even when you're not playing Cabal, you usually have power to spare, especially on characters like Vision and Hulk and Captain Marvel. Then I kind of take these almost as a combo, but I've got Field Dressing and Patch Up.
Mm-hmm.
When I had this combo before, we found out that Hulk could be Field Dressing, but it has stayed there because the idea of just letting you kill Hulk at 15 and then moving a character up and healing 6 off of him from dazed is absolutely terrifying.
Yep.
Other than that, they're both just super solid. I used to run Venom. My friend Kenny, who I'm playing in the league this week, got to feel what it's like when you kill Venom and then he gets field dressing and then he we are Venom's 2 of your characters off the table, and doesn't look like he was even hurt.
Yep, full health Venom all over again.
Yeah, I don't run him anymore because I like the consistency of the others' characters better, but
Mm-hmm.
that sold that card for me almost forever.
Absolutely.
Brace is Brace. It's probably in every single 8-card build. Probably will be until throws stop existing.
Yep, it's one that I've stopped taking it in every single game into my 5, but I don't think I will ever build a list where it's not in my 8.
Well, even in our game, I had the 1 throw on Crossbones, but how many times did I say, well, I could throw you, but I'm not, because you just have Brace, and it would just waste this throw, even if it's just something like that. Once again, the threat of Brace is enough for me to be like, your 1 throw is useless. You'll never get it again, and it didn't give you any value.
Yep, it's a card that can very easily bait, and you have to kind of your opponent always has to be concerned, well, I want to bait it out of you before, and then I can start throwing the big size 4 stuff or any of those kind of situations. So it's a very interesting card, always good to have.
Yep. Advanced R&D, I have lots of ways to generate power, but sometimes the ones that want to generate a bunch of power have some to spare, and the little guys like Zemo and Crossbones need 1 or 2 more to get their jobs done. And it's nice to have that option to be able to kind of spread that love around and have everyone fighting at full capacity or as close to it as possible.
Yeah.
Gamma Launch, I feel like it's glued to Hulk. Anytime you bring Hulk, Gamma Launch is one of the best non-affiliated cards in the game, I think. Definitely one of the best character-specific. A 5 move on anyone is useful, whether that be Thor, like in the BDT build, or I've thrown Cap or Shuri or Crossbones. Getting people into all new positions is absolutely fantastic, no matter who it is or what you're playing.
Yeah, nope, it is. It is always just a good card to have. It is as Usurp is to Killmonger, Gamma Toss Throw is to Hulk.
Absolutely. The last one's Recalibration Matrix. It's one I love, and I'm falling less and less in love with as more and more cards come in the game and new shinies start to take over the old shinies. But it's another one of those, if consistency doesn't work and something weird happens, it's a backup plan. Oh, you rolled way higher than I wanted you to on this attack roll, and I rolled poorly on defense. Well, let's reset. Or even better with with Captain Marvel making a bunch of rerolls. If something just doesn't happen, sometimes you can force it and get that last couple damage through. Everyone probably knows what I'm talking about, but
yep,
it's still one of my favorites.
Yep, no, Recalibration Matrix is kind of a solid last-ditch effort card. By the time it's being needed in the game, usually everybody has enough power to play it defensively or offensively, and just a good bit of extra consistency to have in the tactic card zone. Awesome, man. Well, I have no more questions for you. Do you have any questions for me out of the blue?
So I know that you asked me why Cabal, why Avengers, why the good guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I really enjoy the Avengers because, in part, they are the good guys. Iron Man is my favorite. Unfortunately, he is not the leader and is not as strong as I want him to be a consistent part of my list. But I love the Captain America, Thor, Captain Marvel. Vision is not a character I'm in love with as so much, but he's a great game piece. And they have the most consistent thing in the game in the form of throws. Which is why I've stuck to the Avengers quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. I guess the other thing, you kind of answered a little bit, I guess, but when you, competitive or not, when you build, do you build your lists because you say, hey, I really like this character, or I really like this set of characters, or do you think, I want to accomplish this goal and mold around that?
For me, I consider myself like a somewhere in the mix between a casual and competitive, because I do enjoy winning my games. I enjoy the synergies and strategies, but I do not I'm not quite as hardcore competitive as I think I could be. So with that in mind, I definitely build around characters or a team first, and then look at objectives that are going to fit well with what I'm doing. So because I'm already consistently running Thor, Captain America, and Captain Marvel, I do enjoy the origin bombs because they all have a high energy defense and kind of do it the other way around.
Yeah, the exact opposite of my reason for not taking it.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome, man. Well, thank you for your time. And it is a little bit late over here, so I'm sure it's a little bit late for you as well.
Um,
And
I go to bed at 1 in the morning, even when I wake up early, which I do, but I'm a night owl. So.
fair enough. Cool. Well, thank you all for watching and viewing and all of that kind of stuff. And if probably nothing else, just listening because that is what these are great for. Josh, thank you again for introducing us to the cult of Crossbones. I'm sure you will have pamphlets at all the conventions you go to from here on out.
I wasn't before, but now I'm gonna have to figure out how now.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you all, and thanks for watching. And until next time, guys, keep on gaming.